Welcome back. Today on the Sheetkeeper, should I pay off this credit card or should I put that money into a savings account? And really, I think in most cases, we all know credit card interest rates are going to be higher than what you're going to make in a savings account. You should probably pay off the credit card first, but there are reasons to put some money away in savings. Today, we're really going to focus on continuing to model out in Google Sheets a way to see what happens in the future depending on how much money you put toward the credit card or put into a savings account. I'll show you using a Google Sheet that you can use for free as long as you have a Gmail address, how to add a savings account, add an interest rate to that savings account, and then see what happens to your savings if you make regular deposits over time. You'll be able to change the interest rate there, change the interest rate on your credit card, and compare the two and see where you want to put away the money. If you're new here, welcome. You can call me E. And here on my Sheetkeeper channel, we talk about using a free Google Sheet to model out your entire financial future longitudinally with an at-a-glance view so you can quickly make smart financial decisions and see how they'll impact your future. So you can do things like pay off debt, save money, plan for the future. You can use the Google Sheet to see the impact of all those decisions as far out into the future as you want. Elephant in the room, I'm wearing a beekeeper hat. I'm not a beekeeper. I can't see you. You can't see me. It's fair. We're here to do spreadsheets. Let's move on. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. I won't be giving any investment, tax, or legal advice. Go to a licensed pro for that. I'm just sharing a tool I've used for over 20 years now to first pay off some debt and then to make financial decisions. And it has helped me with every financial decision in my life, whether that was buying my first home, buying a bigger home, buying cars, getting married, and so forth. I want to share that sheet with you and do it in a way that you can use it for free forever in Google Sheets. If you've been around, you're already caught up and you have your Google Sheet ready to go. If not, I recommend you go back to episode 1 and I'll link to it here so you can start clean and build your Google Sheet from the start. And that way you can come along with us. You'll know every formula that's in here. You'll know how it was built and then you can customize it and do whatever you want with it using that skill. But if you want to move fast, you can download it. I always leave the sheet that we're starting with at the beginning of the episode and the sheet that we'll end up with at the end so that you have both so that you can check your work and you can make sure that all your formulas look right in case something's off. I'll leave links all over the place so that you can get those. So let's get into adding a savings account to your Google Sheet. I'm going to open a spreadsheet that looks exactly like what we left off with after episode 3. But this one has one major difference, and that's the savings account with an interest rate. You'll see that here in row 22. So you'll see we have all the usual stuff. We have biweekly paychecks coming in row 2. We have our rent going out in row 4. Things like our car payment and insurance, cell phone, electricity, home internet, and all of that going out in the other rows. We're putting some money aside every paycheck toward our credit card in row 13. We're putting away money now into savings in row 15. And in row 17, that's our discretionary spending, like our food, gas, and entertainment. We've got a row 19 for any irregular expenses that you just want to plan for. And then we've got our balances in row 21, 22, and 23. The balance of the checking account, the savings account, and the credit card balance as they change over time. And if you go way out to the right, you can see all of your pay dates for the next 2 years and how all of these balances change depending on the numbers that you put in up above. This spreadsheet goes out to October 2027, but you could take this out 2 more years, 5 more years, 10 years, 20 years if you want to. And I will tell you, once we get more advanced, I definitely do that. So let's start in B22. I put a 3% interest rate in here for our savings account. 3% may be tough to find, but it depends on your financial circumstances. As of late October 2025, when we're filming this, it's available out there. What I've done here in our first scenario is I took some money that we used to put into food, gas, and entertainment, and I decided to put that into savings. In previous episodes, we were putting $225 into food, gas, and entertainment. Now we took $20 and we put that into savings. And you can see when I entered my assumption here in B15 of $20, that's what caused all of these values to fill in from E15 all the way to the right. And if I scroll right, you'll see I'm putting $20 away out of every paycheck. I'll scroll back to the left. You can see in row 22, the $20 coming into that account starting when the $20 went in on November 14th, 2025. Row 15 is where we put the $20 into savings, and row 22 is where it ended up in the savings account. And then if I scroll to the right, you can see every pay period, we're putting in another $20. On 11/28, in row F, we put in $20. And then in row 22, you can see now we're at $40.02. You can see some of that interest starting to accumulate. And if I scroll to the right, we continue to do that for 2 more years. And what happens? When I get all the way to the right, October 15th of 2027, we've put away $1,049.92. You can see that in column BC, row 22. We've also paid off our credit card. In BC 23, you can see that went negative back around September in BA 23. And you can see our checking account. We have $425.91 left at that point. Let's take a snapshot here so we remember what those numbers are, and then we can go back and change our assumptions, and we can see how these things change after 2 years. Remember that savings account balance was $1,049.92. And if I scroll all the way back to the left, I'm going to put in 5 for the savings account interest rate. When I do that, the numbers to the right are going to change. See, they changed a little bit. And now if I scroll all the way to the right, now in mid-October, I have $1,070.52. So over 2 years, by changing that interest rate from 3% to 5%, I made about $20 more. I'll change this back to 3. Now, that $20 might not be very exciting to you over the course of 2 years. But what should be exciting is your ability to model this out. So now you can say, if I want to take that $20 and I want to put it toward the credit card instead, you can do that here in this spreadsheet. You could change this 20 to a 0 if you want, and you'll see the numbers change to the right when I do that. And then you can put 140 to the credit card every time. Then you can scroll all the way to the right, and you can see when you did that, wow, you paid off the credit card in May 28th of 2027. That's the first time the credit card balance went negative. Your checking account balance stays the same. You don't have anything in savings, but you paid off that credit card much earlier. And back when you did, in May, you could then take this and switch this to 0. Switch all of these to zeros after that, and watch that money just flow into your checking account. Now your checking account balance is growing. And if you want to here, you could take that money back in May. Let me scroll to the left. And when this goes from 140 to 0, you could start to add it into savings. So you could start to put whatever you want there. Let's say 50. And I can do 50 every month. And now you can see things start to change. Checking account is staying about level, but we're starting to build up money into that savings account and apply interest from savings. Look, these are just a couple of quick scenarios. The most important thing you can get from this is that now you have a tool that lets you model out all of these different things and decide how it is that you want to use that money so that it works the right way for you as you execute your plan going into the future. So now you can take some time, you can play around with your assumptions, you can plug different numbers into this. But first, what we need to do is build this together. So let me show you how to add that savings account and how to add the biweekly contribution we're going to make to the savings account. So let's start with the spreadsheet that we left off with right at the end of episode 3. That's what we have here in front of us. And a reminder, I'll give you that to download with some links here. So first, let's go to row 14 and let's add a couple of rows. I'm going to right click on row 14, say insert one row above. And I'm going to do that again. Right click on 14 and insert one row above. Now I'm going to put 2 savings in row 15, column A. Hit enter just to give it a label. Now we're assuming today is 11/14/25. This is when we're going to start putting money into the savings account. That's E15. But what we want to do is just make an assumption so that it's easier to play with later on. So we're going to assume that we put $20 into savings every pay period. So I'm going to go to B15 and put a 20 here and hit enter. And now in E15, we want to put our formula here that takes the assumption from B15 and enters it every pay period going out for 2 years. So the formula is in E15 equals B15. And you'll see that light up in orange. Now remember though, we need to put a $sign in front of B. We do that so as we copy this formula to the right, we hold on to the value in column B, and Google Sheets doesn't just automatically adjust that every time we copy it. So $sign B15, hit enter, and you can see E15 now equals the value in B15. I'm going to take the blue dot in the corner of E15 and I'm going to drag it all the way to the right to copy that formula. I'll drop it here so that the formulas are all copied out all the way to October of 2027. So now we're putting $20 into savings the whole time. And you'll notice down here, our checking account went negative. Why did that happen? Let's go all the way back to the left. Money doesn't just come from nowhere. That affected our financial picture. So what we need to do if we want to put $20 in savings is take $20 out from somewhere else. So I'm going to take the $225 that we have set aside for food, gas, and entertainment, and I'm going to drop that down to $205 here in B17. I'll hit enter, and that'll change it up. We won't go negative now in 2 years in checking. Okay, now we're setting the money aside, but we need someplace for it to go. So down here below this line, in A22, I'm going to put savings account. Now we need an interest rate for that savings account. But what I'm going to do to make this easy on all of us is I'm going to copy the interest rate from the credit card, B23. I'm going to hit Control or Command C. Then in B22, I'm going to hit Control or Command V. I've copied the interest rate. And I'm going to change this to 3% by just hitting 3 and enter. In C22 and D22, I'm just going to put zeros because we're assuming we're starting on 11/14/2025. So we didn't put anything in there before. Those are hard-coded in now and they won't change. E22 is where we put the formula. And again, one of the things we can do to make this easy is just copy the formula from E23. We're going to use the same formula that we did for the credit card to accumulate savings in the savings account and add an interest rate. So if I hit Control C on E23 and Control V on E22, well, that's not right. I got a 0 there, but go ahead and do it. Copy E23 to E22. Now, there are 2 things that we need to pay attention to right now. One is if I double click here and see the formula, I also see it up in the formula bar. The 2 things that are wrong are, first, see how this teal box, maybe aqua box, is in E12? Well, that's not where the money's coming from. The money's coming from E15. So we need to change this from E12 to E15. And there's one other thing that's wrong, and that is we're subtracting the amount. See how it says minus E15? This is not a credit card. This is a savings account. We want to add this amount. So we're going to switch that to a plus. So your formula should now show that you are adding the amount here from E15. But everything else looks right. We're taking the orange balance. You can see D22. We're taking the balance of our savings account from last time. We're adding the rest of that formula you can see is taking the interest rate from B22 in purple, and it's dividing it by 365 days, taking it to the 14th power. So it's going through our whole interest rate formula, and then it's adding the amount that we brought in E15. We're taking our previous savings balance, we're applying the interest rate, and then we're adding our latest deposit. We do all that and we hit enter. Another disclaimer. We are doing interest here the same way that we did with our credit card. And if you want this to be accurate, we need to ensure that your bank compounds interest daily in your savings account. But let's be honest. The major variable in all of this is up here in E17. How much do you spend on food, gas, and entertainment? That's what's going to change the most. At least it does for me. For most people, that's going to change the most from pay period to pay period. That's the big thing you want to look at. Talking about whether you're not compounding on a daily basis or maybe you're compounding on a monthly basis, whatever that is not going to affect this greatly. I'll say this, at a 20% interest rate, this would be 1/19% in a year. It's very, very close. So this compounding formula should work just fine for you. If I was dealing with Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, if I was dealing with a Jennifer Lopez, if I was dealing with a Sammy Hagar, someone with billions of dollars, then of course those small percentages change things greatly. But for us, I think this is fine for our assumptions. And if you are a billionaire and you're watching this, I'm in disbelief. Thank you. But if you're a billionaire that's watching this and you actually take the time to comment on why the interest rate calculation is off or could be off, that's just crazy. No offense, but there's bigger things you could be doing in the world. I've digressed. The next thing we need to do is to copy this formula all the way out through our financial future. So I'm going to hit Control C or Command C on E22. I'm going to paste this all the way over to BD22 to see what happened to our savings account. So let me scroll back to the left. And let's just talk for a second. So many times I hear the conversation of, should I save this money or should I use it to pay off a credit card? Or should I invest this money or use it to pay off a credit card? And this is the beginning of being able to quickly model out that scenario and make that decision in an informed way. If you plug in your own personal financial numbers into this, you now have a tool that lets you play with those interest rates, play with the amounts that you're plugging in, and understand exactly what's going to happen over time because of those decisions. You may decide you don't want to keep so much money in checking. So as long as enough is still in checking, take the excess and put it into savings. You may decide that you don't need anything in savings. You just want to attack that debt. So you're going to put it all into the credit card. You may be someone who follows like a Dave Ramsey who wants that protection of, say, $1,000 put away in savings first before you attack the credit card. And you can make any of those decisions that you want, but now you can make them in an informed way so that you know what's going to happen over time after you make those decisions. Okay, sheet keepers, that's it for today. Now, if you want to keep going, the next episode is going to be about what we do between paychecks to keep our checking account balance up to date. If you like to go in online and see what's going on at the bank and what your balance is for the day, we're going to plug that into the spreadsheet between paychecks and then see what your balance will end up looking like at the end of the pay period. That way, you can keep up to track day to day with your finances and everything will remain correct in the Google Sheet. I'll put a link to that episode here. I'm also going to put links, of course, to this spreadsheet when we started today and when we ended today so you can check out all your formulas. As always, thanks so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one.